This is a typical spoon carving knife, and you can see it has a very long curved blade, and it's got the bevel on the bottom side here. It's rather difficult to sharpen, but you use it like this. This is a piece of cedar. You can see I can take very thin slices. I don't try to remove very much wood at once. It's much easier to make small slices. You can see how I keep my thumb safely out of the way. Now this is the kind of spoon carving knife that we have made for use at Clear Spring School. So this is my own design. And you see it has a much shorter blade. And so the idea is it doesn't have as much exposed knife that can hurt you accidentally. And you can see it takes very small shavings. You don't want to remove a lot of material at once. You want to take small shavings. It's much easier to make small shavings, and it's much safer. You see how I keep my thumb safely out of the way? For beginners, this protective tape is a good idea to put on the thumb that holds the knife. So you can take it and wrap it tightly around like this. And this tape is designed to stick to itself. And so it's just generally a protective tape that you can use so that when you're holding the knife, you can see your thumb is protected. Let me tear off that extra piece. So now the thumb is protected, and in case my knife were to slip, I won't be injuring myself. This is a carving knife for spoons that we use at Clear Spring School. You see that it has a little sweep to the edge here. And unlike many spoon carving knives, this one we have the bevel to the inside. And that makes it easy to take a dowel wrapped with leather and some jeweler's rouge to polish it just like that, without having to contend with the very complex curvature of this edge. So a nice round dowel will do the trick. And these are made by us at Clear Spring School for our students' use. If it starts chattering like that, come back from the other angle. And you want to try to attain a symmetrical shape. So I kind of look at it every now and then to see how I'm doing. And then when I'm pleased with the shape that I've obtained, my next thing will be to get out some sandpaper and sand it nice and smooth. Until you're an experienced carver, stick with simple shapes. So I'm just designing this spoon here. Now you see I have a design drawn on the top. And now I'm going to draw the profiles of the spoon here on the bottom, showing what material I want to remove. Using the bandsaw. With the under profile sawn, I can begin forming the shape. As you whittle, keep your thumb braced out of the way and take small slices. And then where the grain reverses, come back from the other direction. Again, doing your best to keep your thumbs out of the way. And as you continue working on it, it will become more and more useful as a spoon. The constant challenge is trying to figure out, well, how do I hold it safely so that I can keep my fingers out of the way? So this is another technique. So you see I have my thumb in the spoon of the bowl, so it gives me a good grip. And I can move the knife along here, while my other thumb is taped up and safely propped on the opposite side. By taking very small cuts, you see I'm not having to use a great deal of force. And I'm also avoiding splits that would cause a problem. Now when you have to reverse, when the grain starts to run like that, you want to reverse and come from the other side. I just lost my little protective cover on my thumb. So I'm going to have to stop here and retape. But you don't want the grain to run like that very far without coming back from the opposite direction and fixing it. So I'm starting to get what I want here. After practicing on a simple spoon, try something a little more complex. Now with the bowl the way I want it, I can design the shape of the handle of the spoon. I might do something that feels kind of creative for me, a little different. And then you design the profile of the spoon in this direction. And so the next thing I can do is I can go to the bandsaw and I can make this cut, and then I can come back and I'm making this cut and this cut around there. And then I can take a common Sloyd knife and I can begin whittling. Now with the bandsawing complete, I'm ready to use my Sloyd knife to begin cutting in on the outside and making my spoon much more delicate and more attractive. So now after a little bit of whittling time on it, I've got it to where I'm just about ready to start sanding. I'll try to get the inside of the bowl and the outside of the bowl uniform, so I can use my fingers like that, and I can use them as a gauge to try to determine whether or not I've done a good job. If I find any little bumpy areas like that, I can come back with the knife. I can fix it, so there's a little bumpy area right there. I try to make sure that I'm making my cut with the grain and not against the grain, because and the longer you work on these, you see it becomes rather delicate. And so you want to be very careful that you don't break it.